Good morning, everybody. I'm hoping we're live on stream. I'm going to have to do a little confidence check here just to make sure it actually went live. And I can see myself. That's an odd thing to see this early in the morning. It was a bit of a struggle this morning getting this everything set up, but thank y'all for bearing with me, and apologize that I was off screen there for a minute and you didn't hear me. But just want to say good morning and thank you to everyone that followed yesterday. We got to the 100 followers we needed in order to be able to actually go live in studio for the show this morning. So it is 1:23 and I've got a lot to say, so we're going to get it right into it. But kicking it off, what is the show? Well, this is the H2 show. I'm one half of the H2 show. I'm Jeffrey Herron. What is this going to be? Every morning around 5:30, I'm going to start having a check-in. That's weekday mornings, obviously. I'll take the weekends off, and we'll do a little bit of current events during those conversations, and we will, come at you live from the historic Adamson Square. We're up above the Adamson Square. We saw that check-in yesterday at lunch. Let y'all see a video. A couple things to talk about there. Did you know that today is actually National Pie Day? That's P-I-E, not P-I. Obviously, that'll be the 3/14 date. But have a slice of pie today, and don't feel guilty about it. This started in 1970 when Charles Papazian, he declared his birthday to be National Pie Day. And then it's been supported by the American Pie Council. Didn't even know there was such a thing since 1986, so longer than I've been alive. So celebrate today. All types of pies, whatever you want to eat, fruit pies. Just go ahead and enjoy it. Berry, cream, whatever it is that you enjoy. Get you a slice, have two, and enjoy life. The other thing today is also in 1977, this became National Handwriting Day. So I know in the world of digital, I try to be digital. You probably try to be digital. Handwriting can be lost, but they in 1977 they declared it National Handwriting Day. So let's put the pen and paper out and let's just go ahead and rock it old school today. Take some notes. I find that I remember things a little bit better if I go ahead and take a physical note versus trying to write it on my phone. As you can see, I'm looking down every now and then, trying to look at you, but occasionally I'm going to look down at my notes to make sure I get everything in today. This is the first time I've ever been on a live stream. So if I say anything dumb, forgive me and let it go, like Elsa. So this day in history, want to hit on a couple of cool things that have happened this day in history. On this day in 1997, Madeleine Albright became the first woman to hold the cabinet post of Secretary of State. So that's pretty exciting. That was back in Bill Clinton's term. She became the first woman to be Secretary of State. Also, on this day in history, the 24th Amendment was ratified, and that said that there no longer could be a poll tax associated with voting. So know your rights. It's a great thing. Let's talk about some famous birthdays that happened on January 23rd. Two of my favorite shows to watch are Saved by the Bell and Law & Order Special Victims Unit. Tiffany Amber Thiessen was born this day and on January 23rd, and Mariska Hargitay. So two leading ladies there that have kept us all enamored and tuned into our TVs. So let's hit on some national news. I want to try to go through these things quickly, but I know I'll probably get to rambling on one subject or another, and I'll try to monitor the comments in the future. Today, I don't have my setup where I can see the comments right in front of me, so I'll have to swipe back and forth on my phone, but we'll get all that dialed in as we go. Appreciate you bearing with me as we go through that. Give me 1 second. I got to do a few things to mute the mic. I think we may be getting some echoes. All right, that should take care of that. And I apologize if you got an echo there for a little bit. So, in national news, over the weekend, we obviously had some big events. The NFL playoffs are in full swing. We'll hit on those. But on Monday, we saw Trump get sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. And I think we could spend all day and maybe a couple of days talking about all of the executive orders that were signed immediately upon that. So, some controversial ones, some not so controversial ones, and a lot to think through. We saw Elon Musk make the most unfortunate hand signal or hand gesture in history. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Was it an accident? Was he trolling? What do you think? Was it on purpose? Seems like most people are giving him the benefit of the doubt, but it did seem to be a Rorschach test, right? If you lean a little left politically, you felt one way. If you lean a little right, you feel another way. But I'd love to hear how you think about it in the comments. I posted something yesterday about Bitcoin hitting 110,000. Part of the reason that it hit 110,000 is a positive view from a lot of people in the community on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that the new administration is going to be a little more crypto friendly. We saw that Trump and Melania both launched what I would call a meme coin. I think they've kind of sold it as it's a commemorative coin. It's not meant to be an investment, though some people have taken it that way. With the controversy that surrounded those cryptocurrencies and these launches, I'd suggest, not financial advice, but just how I'm going to act. Don't view those things as investments. The Haktua girl, Haley, I think it's Haley Welch, can't remember. She got in a little trouble. She's kind of went underground about that. So just be careful as you take on these new things and look at them as speculative at best, is what I would suggest. And if you make some money, great, but don't invest your life savings in these so-called meme coins. And we can talk a little bit more about cryptocurrency as we go in. So this past week in sports, the big wild world of sports, we saw Kansas City win. A lot of controversy there. There were a few roughing the passer calls that went Patrick Mahomes' way again, and some people are calling the NFL scripted or rigged again. I will say it did seem a little suspect that they took the safety right there at the end to cover the line of 9.5. So I'm sure there was somebody that had Houston plus 9 that was very excited, and some folks that had Kansas City given 9.5 that were very upset. And I'm not sure how Vegas came out on that, but it does seem a little suspect, I will say, from a gambling man myself. We had a rough weekend for our Michiganders. We saw the Detroit Lions really get beat by themselves in a lot of ways. Jared Goff fumbling the football, throwing an interception for a touchdown, throwing another interception. And then Ben Johnson, I think, got a little too cute late in the game, having Jameson Williams throw the ball. Ended up getting picked off, and that really was the end of that. I was actually at the Lil Wayne concert. He was a little late showing up, but still a great concert. That was for the national championship, the playoff live playlist is what they called that. Quavo and Gucci Mane showed up, as well as 2 Chainz. It was a really great concert. Atlanta knows how to do those things. State Farm Arena, if you haven't been, fantastic venue. But me and a buddy behind me were watching it while the DJ was going, and we weren't too happy about it. But hey, Jaden Daniels, for those parents who say you can't get anything good out of a video game, Jaden Daniels actually practices in augmented reality at 1.75 times speed, reading plays, and I think it has shown this year that it really did slow the game down. Little funny point there. There was a kid in the Hard Knocks episode. I can't remember his name, but I think he was the son of the GM for the New York Giants. Said, "Hey, Dad, y'all should really just trade a bunch of picks, trade up and get Jaden Daniels." So maybe 17-year-old kids should be running the GM office, especially for the Giants, considering what they did with Saquon Barkley. Speaking of Saquon Barkley, man, can he run the ball? What a just a gem and a fantastic change of scenery has really made our opinions change on Saquon. There was some thoughts when he was playing for the Giants that maybe he was washed. He gets injured too much, which is probably what led him to let him test free agency. That and devaluing that position. But seeing him play in the snow, seeing him smiling, giving folks the hey, we got this. I think they had a lip reader come in and say, I got this right before he ran for that long touchdown or things like a 40-yard play. So really, he's found a new home with the Eagles right in time for them. As you know, obviously when the snow's happening, it's a little bit harder to throw the ball. People slipping and sliding on the field. So Matthew Stafford and this and the Rams came up just short, obviously on fourth down. A little overthrow there right at the end of the game to Puka Nacua. I mean, great season out of them. I think Jared Verse and the folks they drafted in the first round really have that defense ahead of schedule. We'll see how long Matt wants to play, but you know, as a Georgia boy, we're all pulling for him. You know, even though I'm not a huge UGA fan, I still got to pull for the home guy there. Then in the late game, we had Josh Allen, the presumable two MVP candidates going right up against each other, Lamar and Josh Allen. I mean, really, it came back down to mistake-free football. The Buffalo Bills didn't make the mistakes. The Baltimore Ravens did. And poor Mark Andrews, fumbling the ball late in the game when they're going down, could have taken the lead, and then dropping the ball on a 2-point conversion. A guy that's usually pretty sure-handed let the Ravens down. And we have to ask, both in the Detroit game and in this game, did they get too cute? You know, Ben Johnson's been running these crazy trick plays for Detroit all year, and they've worked out really well. But did he get too cute late in the game? And then for the Ravens, why didn't they run the ball more? Derrick Henry's in the backfield there. Don't use him on the 2-point conversion on either time. Maybe that's the right call. I'm not an NFL head coach, but from an outside looking in, as just a fan, you got Derrick Henry. You signed him in the offseason. He has over 1,900 yards this season. Why don't you run him? And then in another blow to the Michiganders, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator that's been there for Detroit and really seen Dan Campbell turn this thing around, he left to go to the Chicago Bears, of all places. So disappointing, I think, for the Detroit faithful. But I will say, you know, maybe he did get too cute, and maybe it's a blessing in disguise. And there is some upside I'll tell you about in a little bit. Looking at the Monday night games, playoff, the college football playoff, I'd love to hear how everybody feels about how the first 12-team playoff went. But I think we can all say the theme of NIL and transfer is really playing out in a big way for those teams that have taken advantage. $20 million team there for Ohio State. Both quarterbacks, Will Howard and Landry, were transfers, and it worked out. Obviously, they made it to the finals. I really like Marcus Freeman. Would have loved to have seen Notre Dame pull that one out, just personally. But gotta give it to Ryan Day and that crew over at Ohio State. They turned it on at the end of the year, despite losing to Michigan right there at the end. In past lives, that might have kept them out of the playoff, but this time they made it in. So interested to hear your take on college football and the changes that NIL have made. I think it's crazy that we see college quarterbacks making more than professional quarterbacks. I think they said that all the NIL deals, that there were all but maybe 2 or 3 for quarterbacks that were getting NIL or making more than Brock Purdy this year. So think about that. A starting quarterback in the NFL, yes, granted he was a 7th-round pick, is making less than people in college. He might have been making less than some people in high school, but I haven't ran those numbers. Looking at that, we saw Carson Beck. Some UGA fans are happy about this. He was going to declare for the draft, so he's gone. You know, see what the next guy up can do. But instead, he chose to go to Miami and take a $8 million reportedly NIL deal. So crazy how much money you can make as a college football player and college football quarterback. I think we all felt like, hey, college sports is making billions. So we'd love to see the players make something, but when do the rules need to change? It's kind of the wild, wild west out there. How do they get that under control? Should be interesting. In other Lions news, the Michiganders obviously not happy that Ohio State won, but they do get the benefit of Cooper Kupp. So the Rams and Lions have agreed to a trade. So Cooper Kupp's going over to the Lions. Should be interesting in the receiving core there. Maybe give them a route runner, for some underneath stuff. Not really sure. He was a Triple Crown winner not that long ago. But is he washed? Is it, the injuries have caught up to him, or will he go and have new life? And we just need to see him play next to an Amon-Ra St. Brown and a Jameson Williams to take the top off. What I will say is, and I will have a show about this, Puka Nacua should definitely move up in your ranks on your fantasy football. If you think he can avoid the injury bug next year, I think he could be easily a top 5, top 7 receiver in that fantasy football world. So back to crypto news. I want to touch on that a little bit more. I know this is supposed to be a business podcast. We talked a lot about current affairs. That's what this is intended to be. I want to just entertain you as you're either getting ready for work, driving into work. Heck, if you're just laying back down, you want to fall asleep, maybe I can entertain you for a minute while you fall back asleep for a few minutes. In the crypto news, though, we've seen some interesting stuff. One, we had 110,000 on Bitcoin. That was an all-time high. But also we have the BlackRock CEO talking about Bitcoin and how it is a storage of value for those countries that are scared. So he's went and done some interviews out and around in Europe, and we're seeing that some of these European countries, some of the Middle Eastern countries, other countries are talking about using Bitcoin as a store of value. Trump has made a comment or two about it as well. And there's thoughts that could push if everybody took that approach, or even a handful of folks take that approach of buying up some Bitcoin to stave off either because there's political uncertainty or there's economic uncertainty for the individual countries. We could see Bitcoin hit a 700,000. So that's obviously 7x where we're at today. It's not the 1,000x you could have got if you invested back when it was launched, but or tens of thousands of exponential growth there. But it is a big number, and others have speculated it could go to 1 million. I have to ask, and just we all need to think through this as a thought exercise. When is it too much if Bitcoin exceeds, let's say, all the circulating, the value of all circulating currency in the world economy? Is that the threshold? There has to be some threshold. I don't know what that number is. Looking at it, I saw a comment yesterday, and I apologize because I don't have the gentleman's name in front of me, but I appreciated that he came over the top and talked about Web3. We'll go down that rabbit hole someday here pretty soon. But I think that's where the unknown is. What is Bitcoin being used for from an industrial purpose? When we think about like gold, other valuable assets like diamonds, perceived valuable assets and commodities, they have some industrial purpose beyond just being a store of value. Based on what I'm reading, Ethereum, Ripple, some of these other cryptocurrencies are being used to kind of decentralize the transactions and create these trustless transactions. I don't fully understand what that means because I don't, I'm like most people. The internet comes on and it works. And all the stuff that goes on in the background, I'm starting to learn more about it. But if you don't understand that infrastructure, it's hard to know what's actually happening in the background. When I click on this web page, there's code that happens. There's transmission of data. It's going through the wires. Those are going through the cloud in a lot of cases. Then it goes to a wired connection. Then that wired connection goes to maybe a telecom tower, maybe to a data center. And then what servers is that stored on? It's stored on multiple servers. There's a lot that goes into that. And there's points of interception that could happen. And it sounds like having this proof of stake and proof of transaction information be on a open blockchain that people can see, helps you verify that those transactions happened correctly. And you don't need a disinterested third party to kind of be the mediator and arbitrator. So if that's the case, and we're going to see who wins and who loses in terms of which ones are adapted or adopted, obviously I think it could be very similar to the .com boom, right? The ones that are of value and really matter and adapt and overcome and are easier to transact with or easier to use, those are the ones that will be the winners. But right now, I don't have a good position on which one's going to be the winner and loser, and I'd love to hear more commentary down in the chat about where can I explore more information there. Do you have some good articles you can share? Is there somebody that would want to come on the podcast and talk a little bit about it? So that you know the structure here, we're doing these daily podcasts. I'm going to go over current affairs, talk about some things I want to talk about, and then there'll be other podcasts with Brent, the other half of the H2 show studios here, who will come in and we'll do some interview style conversations with people that are of interest to the community, to the crowd here. And we can't do this if we don't have followers. So I appreciate you tuning in. But they'll come on. They can talk about their business, their career path, where they've been, where they're going, or they can talk about some subject matters that we are not experts on. So we can find some schmees, as they say. And I'm not talking about the one from Peter Pan that's Captain Hook's right-hand man. I'm talking about a subject matter expert. When I say schmee, it's an acronym. So in local news, obviously the weather has been a big thing. I commented on it yesterday, but it's crazy to think that some cities in Florida have gotten more snow than Alaska right now in the last week. So insane to think about. A joke that, I love Disney World. I guess Blizzard Beach is not that far off when you talk about their water park, Blizzard Beach. It sounds like it happened yesterday. I saw a couple of pictures and memes about where the snow and the water met on the sand, and that was actually kind of a beautiful thing to see. What do you think about that? Is that normal course of business? Hey, this happens every X number of years. That's kind of how I feel about it. But maybe it is, some climate change or what have you. I'd love to hear some commentary. Keep it civil, but love to hear some commentary and some debate there. It'd be interesting to think through and go through that thought experiment. I hadn't thought a lot about it. In other news, I got a text from or call from my mom talking about my sister over in California. Please continue to be in prayer that those fires die out. They're clearly the winds there have amplified that. My sister got the evacuation order, or parts of my family did there, and so they're making their way out, trying to stay safe. Obviously, you've got the debate like, okay, the fire's not there yet. I've got to prevent looters from coming in. That's a real hard decision for people to make, because if you come back and your house is burned down, that's bad. If you come back and it's been burglarized, what do you do? Making the right call, getting the family out as best you can. And obviously life is more valuable than property, and we all know that, but a lot of folks are facing some hard decisions. Insurance, there's been some policies that got canceled. There were policies that got increased for people that are over in California to a level they couldn't pay, and they went, I think they called it going bare. So just a lot's going to come out there. What are your thoughts? Did California do enough? A personal opinion, I think the government has made some mistakes in terms of how to handle underbrush and water conservation, and maybe they've made some mistakes in their hiring practices and where they spend their money to keep more people on the team for the fire and rescue. But I'm not as close to it. So if I've got any listeners out there from California, would love to hear your take on it. What do you think about how the mayors handle it, how the governor has handled it? There's a lot of bickering back and forth. I think right now it's really about how do we solve the problem in front of us, and then how do we set it up so it happens less in the future. And there's these conspiracy theories running around about property values, and they want to build a smart city. I don't know that any of that serves anybody well to talk about, but I do think it's worth hearing out because, as some people have joked, what's the difference between the truth and a conspiracy theory? It's about 6 months. Well, it does seem to be playing out that way on some things that involve the government. I would hope that we wouldn't have that situation be the case with wildfire, but I do think it's worth having the thought exercise long term to think about why people make the decisions they make, and do we have some bad actors, or is it just incompetence, or is it just nature and we can't avoid it? So feel free to discuss that, down in the comments as well. Looking at some local news, one of the biggest things I've seen, it's been a hot topic in my news feed on Facebook, and obviously we're going live on Facebook here. We'd like to extend to YouTube in the coming weeks, but right now we don't have enough followers over there, so I will post that, and I will ask, as an action for me, if you find the content interesting, or if you just want to hear more from us, please go ahead and follow us on YouTube as well. So I'll post that link down in the comments on Facebook. So back to local news. One of the big hot topics I'm seeing is this HB 581. So it's the homestead exemption law that got passed by the House, I think, in this past session. And essentially it seems to have kind of a couple of clauses, but the one that everybody seems to be fired up about, the controversy, is that it allowed for your local Board of Education or local municipality or government, to opt out of a cap in how much they could raise the taxes basically on a homestead. And from what I can tell, what that was intended to do was give us, as the homeowner or as somebody that has a homestead exemption, less of a volatility in the increase in our property tax. And it would cap it based on inflationary rates, I think using the consumer price index. Now, that could still be a pretty high number, but the thought was that we were hoping that they would opt in and they wouldn't opt out. It does seem like I'm having some discussions with one of my friends. I think it's pretty apolitical, can look at things very objectively. What we think maybe has happened is it was a pass of the football, right? Like, I don't want to take the blame if they opt out, so I'm going to hand it off to all the local municipalities. And really, if you really wanted to do that, maybe it should have just been a hard code, like you can't opt out. So the Board of Education seems to want the flexibility to raise the rates as they see fit, or not the Board of Education necessarily, but the local government seems to want to be able to have that maximum flexibility. And obviously, as the consumer of the house and having a home, you want the maximum or the lack of volatility, right? So that would mean a little more rigid structure. I lean that way as well. I don't like the idea that you could see mass increases in our property tax, to the point I've had friends who've had to, sell stuff off, get credit cards, take loans out, what have you, to just cover the property tax. And if you're not on an escrow mortgage, obviously if you're an escrow mortgage, hey, you're paying that off a little bit each month, and the increase is kind of baked over 12 months. But if you get hit with that property tax bill right at the end of the year, that's tough. And I agree that's scary to think that it's kind of sort of an uncapped. It's not really uncapped, but it's definitely more volatile than if there was a fixed number that it could increase. You could have a general feel for how much do I need in the checking account to cover that property tax based on inflation. So I'm not the full-on expert here, obviously. I don't, until yesterday, I had not really read into the bill and done the frequently asked questions and understood what ad valorem floss taxes and everything else were. But I think it does deserve a platform and things that we need to continue to discuss online. So please feel free to comment on that and go through there. And I promise that tomorrow I'll have more opportunity for you to speak directly with me, because I'll get the comments in front of me so I can see them and answer them in real time. Now that I've got the setup a little better, I should be in a better position to start a little sooner as well, and therefore end a little sooner, so that I can go home and help get the kids ready for school. But I appreciate you tuning in today. This has been the Drive at 5, which we will start, having at 5:30 instead of 5:58. And if you have anything you'd like me to cover tomorrow in tomorrow's update, please leave it down in the comments section and make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love you guys. We want the great success for you in 2025. And we just hope to be a little part of your life that can make you laugh, maybe tell you some heartwarming stories, and help you grow and be better and reach that next level, that next rung on the ladder that you want for yourself. But I've been Jeffrey, and this has been the podcast. And with that, have a great day. We'll see y'all later.